The New White Nationalism and Its Connection to Thomas Williams from Russia with Love series and his Truth, Honor, and Integrity Internet Fantasy Narrative. It appears Thomas Williams of Truth, Honor, and Integrity, THI, The People's Club, TPC, and Mana World Holding Trust, MWHT, is gearing up to start his rerun series of what he has titled, From Russia with Love, FRWL, beginning January 16, 2020. We at THI Team Bubba felt it only fair to also present a little backstory to this saga and provide some pretty compelling evidence of the other side of the fascist coin regarding the entire base narrative Thomas Williams has been presenting and the more recent material that is based on an old Russian nationalism movement that formed from the old Nikolai Levashov propaganda. Primarily from Levashov's book from 2007, Russian History Viewed Through Distorted Mirrors. It has become apparent that Thomas Williams of THI has been presenting his own distorted version of these distorted mirrors of Levashov. But the white nationalism underpinnings are becoming quite apparent. Even though Thomas is trying to present it as a softer version and has even gone as far as making it sound like he is opposing some of the more radical identifiers by using more right-light type words and even quite a bit of doublespeak techniques mixed with a sprinkling of New Age and ufology buzzwords, we would like to share some analysis of the material Thomas bases his brand of nationalism, fascism, and racism on. For a bit of a backstory with this, Thomas began presenting his From Russia with Love series back in May of 2018 on his Spreaker podcast, which gets edited and uploaded to his YouTube channel, and then shorter excerpts are uploaded on another YouTube channel. With a vague mention of Levashov, most of this material was being presented as being his own, and as with Williams' classic style, he conveniently leaves out his source material and freely embellishes bits and pieces he finds will support his elaborate fantasy narrative. From July 2019 forward, we have been pointing out the plagiarism and embellishment as the Series 1-8A, B, and C, has been pumped out. This caused Thomas to have to mention his source. For the purposes of this particular piece we are presenting, we will show some concerning and serious research and analysis on the nationalism propaganda of Levashov, particularly the distorted mirrors thesis from which a very dangerous movement was sparked and is now being revived through what is being referred to as the alt-right and alt-light, cyber cult phenomenon flooding the corrupted alt and mainstream media. Links to further reading and research are included in the description of this video, and discussions here and on the THI Team Bubba group page on Facebook show the depths of this revival going on in many versions of the social media constructs. The investigation is multifaceted and branches into many subtopics. Website link for video shots while reading the indicated material. Had to remove link to WordPress because of FB community guidelines. Quoting James DeMeo, PhD, from his 2012 blog post, had to remove link to WordPress because of FB community guidelines, regarding his analysis of Levashov's distorted mirrors thesis titled, Disturbing Book by Nikolai Levashov, with analysis. Quote. Disturbing Book by Nikolai Levashov, with analysis. Most people who are familiar with the good works of Dr. Wilhelm Reich, and orgonomy in general, will thankfully not know anything about the Russian psychic healer, Mr. Nikolai Levashov. They can delightfully ignore this posting, if they so choose. Others will have heard his name or know about a social movement he has created in Russia, and which today spreads into both Europe and the Americas. This is being accomplished mainly through his solicitations into the natural health movement, via the route of psychic healing, which already has its own large following. Levashov will be known within those circles, either from personal experiences, good or bad, or other inside knowledge. But it is unlikely they will know the materials I am going to expose. Levashov now has a new book, Russian History Viewed Through Distorted Mirrors. The alarming claims and racist hatred contained in this book were so disturbing that for several reasons I composed a book review and social analysis on the matter, which is now available as a PDF download. The book reveals Levashov's descent into Russian black fascism, complete with superior being, white race and other extreme mysticism, including Jewish scapegoating and Holocaust denial as core elements. Levashov's words and writings, and the social movement he is forming, are a prime example of how the mechano-mystical split in character structure, based as it is upon bottled-up emotional turmoil and ungratified sexuality, is a slippery slope down into race hatred and fascist thinking. But then, everyone who reads and knows the works of Wilhelm Reich, as on the mass psychology of fascism, or my own cross-cultural study SOVA Eurasia, which scientifically and precisely confirmed Reich on those issues, should already appreciate that point. End quote. The 2012 book review DeMeo is referring to is titled, From Russia with Hate, The Case of Nikolai Levashov from Psychic Healer to Jew Hate and Holocaust Denial. Links to the blog and the full analysis PDF are provided in the source list for you to read and for further study. For a peek into the analysis of the distorted mirrors social analysis that will undoubtedly show the similarities of what Thomas Williams has based his entire fantasy narrative on, as well as his latest emphasis on his From Russia with Love series, here is a small piece of how this looks from a critical thinking perspective aside from the rhetoric and propaganda being woven into Williams' narrative. Quote. Levashov's distorted mirrors thesis summarized. Levashov's basic thesis may appear almost comical on first read, something to not take seriously, but one must consider the new fascism of today is quite accustomed to ideas about psychic powers, space travel and UFOs, ancient space aliens, secret weapons, government conspiracies and the like. While each of those subjects have a rational component deserving of serious study, and can be discussed both responsibly and scientifically without any hint of fascist ideology, when they are mixed up with fascist propaganda and historical revisionism, it makes for a particularly toxic brew which is likely to attract young adherents in ways the old fascisms of the past could not. Levashov claims that white races came to north polar regions of Earth in spaceships or stargates in ancient times, and were the progenitors of an ancient Slavic Russian super-empire with advanced technology. These Russian Slavic Vedaquites ruled Midgard-Earth over all other subordinate races, in a time of peace and heaven-like conditions. At some later time, during what Levashov calls the Nights of Svarog, the Earth entered a part of the galaxy characterized by a negative evolutional warp, whatever that is, where an evil demonic gray or black space aliens, or some kind of space demons, arrived. These darks or blacks brought with them specific dark force viruses used to infect and control human beings. The evil demons with their special mind control viruses then took over the bodies or minds of specifically Jewish people, due to their Levashov claimed pre-existing inclinations towards power-seeking, ruthlessness, scheming, money-grubbing and predatory behavior, which was then amplified and harnessed by the blacks. He weaves a new mythical, mystic and astronomical history which accuses Jews of being antisocial monsters who worked over centuries for the destruction of the noble and decent whites, and for world domination and destruction of Earth. And he specifically blames the Jews, as black Freemasons, for a Jewish coup d'état when the Bolshevik communists took over Russia. Jews are then blamed for the crimes of Stalin and other communist killers, as well as for Nazi crimes. Some of his passages on ancient flying vehicles and space visitors carry themes recognizable to the readers of popular UFO books on such subjects, though to my knowledge, none in the field of UFO studies have degenerated into such fascist ideology. He borrows the concept of the Stargate and other things from popular science fiction Hollywood movies, and likewise takes mythological themes from authentic ancient history. These are reshaped to fit his narrative, with great creative license. Svarog is the ancient Slavic god of celestial fire and blacksmithing, for example, and Midgard-Earth is an Old Norse or Germanic mythical homeland. Into such Nordic, Germanic and Russian Slavic myths, and Old Testament Bible quotes, Levashov adds sci-fi movie themes and his own divine revelation, to create a new theology. Into this he finally adds a generous quantity of neo-Nazi ideological sentiment and revisionist history, turning his fantasy into a vicious toxic nightmare. He frequently references discredited propaganda from American or European neo-Nazi authors and Holocaust denial websites as if they were legitimate primary source materials. He then claims that the real Russian history, which only he Levashov has been sufficiently perceptive to figure out, has been suppressed by Jews, notably of German and American backgrounds, and against which the Russian Superman is contrasted as a maltreated species. Overall, the book gives the impression of a call to arms for non-Jewish Russian Slavic peoples, to rise up and realize their own superior being racial composition, and then throw off their oppressor Jews, even while the occasional statement is made that Levashov's intention is only for peaceful social change. But the average sex-frustrated and angry man in the street who is susceptible to racist propaganda is not likely to remember those cautionary passages. In large measure, the whole enterprise suggests an exercise in violent psychological projection, which is the usual background for such obvious scapegoating. The Nazi literature, and much of modern leftist Islamic anti-Semitism, for example, is rife with blaming Jews for the hatred and violence visited against them, blaming them for the vicious and angry feelings of those who attack and punish them, and even for their own deaths when outright murder is committed. End quote. To be continued in Part 2. Thank you for watching.